Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Biblio Fitness. Sorry for the random interruption in the middle of my video. Something happened with my phone. It was the memory. I had to upgrade my storage, so that's what I did. As I wanted to really hone in on the whole. Like, I don't want to get ahead of myself because there's a lot of crazy shit that goes down that I want to get to when I get to it, story-wise. I don't want to get ahead of myself in terms of this whole conflict of how are we going to progress, how are we going to get past the notion that we're becoming more secularized, because we do pay the price of religion. Like, I'm not going to be a complete fucking dogmatist and that's at the same time and not recognize the importance of religion in a lot of people's lives. Like, I know that it's gonna like it's that you could go on a rant with this shit. That's why I'm not really I don't agree with Jordan Peterson, for example. It's annoying. It's absolutely annoying how religious he has become, how idealistic he has become. He's become the philosopher that Friedrich Nietzsche warns you about. Now you are the arbiter of truth. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, I get it. It's a good story. He means well, but him and Dostoevsky is fucking, like, I just don't agree. I don't interpret the Bible in the same way that they do. I don't understand it. I don't see the glory. I don't see like, I don't see how it's a good virtue unless you want to be a sheep and you want to be a slave. Like, that's why the criticism of Christianity, it's a feminine religion. It's whiny, it's privileged, just like the Jewish religions, just like the Muslims, like they're the chosen ones. But Dostoevsky's claim is that if we don't have God, if we don't have this ideal, we will be killing each other and we won't have any rules and we'll just try to build utopia on Earth. Like, obviously we paid the price for that. There's a great example of Soviet Union. There's the hole that needed to be filled, right? And then a lot of people attribute that loss to the rise of the possibilities of regimes in Nazi Germany, in Italy, in the Soviet Union, in Mao China. You know, the 20th century was age of the totalitarians. You know, it's just like, that's just how we naturally are inclined. If you really think about it, like, democracy is not really very well established if you think about it. Like, the United States is not a democracy. We can talk all this bullshit on the media that we're a democracy, but we're not. You know, let's call it for what it is. This country is an oligarchy, not a democracy. But yeah, so we're paying the price of using reason. Or, like, I'm not saying that we haven't paid the price for it, but it's not like we didn't pay for anything during Christianity, right? Like I don't understand how Dostoevsky could just continue to go along with that. Like among the peasantry, like, what do you mean? You know what I'm saying? Like it's just among the peasantry, because the fucking the people that actually matter don't do this, don't abide by this. The only reason they even most of them even started becoming Christian kingdoms was, first they wanted obviously to do business with the Byzantine Empire during the Middle Ages, but also you're telling these fucking people to be slaves, basically. Like, I'm not gonna get into it forever, but because I love how Yoran, I forgot his last name. I was watching a Lex Friedman podcast with Yaron something. I forgot his last name. I apologize. And Michael Malice. And like, that's really like the top comment, like how it's the gold standard. That really is. But with Yaron was making a valid point. He's like, dude, like, how, like, with Christianity, he's like, dude, like, for example, the story of Abraham. God tells Abraham, hey, yo, I need you to go sacrifice your son for me. And Abraham's like, okay, yes, sir. Like, it's just teaching you obedience, like obedience, unquestioned obedience, everything that good that comes from you. Since you don't know where it's from, it has to be from God. You can never take credit for your own work. It's all because God blessed me with these abilities. But going back to Brothers Karamazov, it's interesting. I'm gonna keep reading it. Obviously, it's a great fucking story. There's a lot to learn from it. I obviously just don't have. I'm not a really good fan of religion. Like, we have paid the price for both. Like, I don't see how that's even a possible argument. Like, oh, we killed millions of people. Well, obviously, now we have the capabilities because we're more industrialized. Like, if we had the capabilities back then, we would already been doing it. Like, under those notions. Like, what happened to the Spanish Inquisition? What happened to the conquest of the Americas? Like, Christian domination was so thorough in its genocide that most Hispanics don't even realize that they're praying to the God that was used as the excuse to enslave us. This was the God that was imposed upon our ancestors under the threat of death. Does that sound like willing, like how, like if, oh, give me 1 second, people. Does that, does that sound like willing acceptance? No. So people overlook that, and then we always have to go back to Christian ideals, which is what Jordan Peterson is doing, right? Like, always talking about the Exodus story and all the shit and the call to adventure, and it's just weird interpretations, bro. And it's not even fucking original. What the fuck are we talking about here? Like, he makes it seem like, oh, the Bible, that's the truth. Like, that's where we're gonna find what we're looking for in order to progress. And this is how you need to be, and this is how you need to act in order to be a good member of society. That's why his whole little council, I'm a little bit cautious. I don't want a bunch of religious fanatics fucking telling me how to live my life either. You got me fucked up. Like, why can't we just all do our own thing? Well, not like religiously, obviously, I still believe that we do need a state in order to be cohesive. I don't believe in all of us just doing our own thing literally separately. We will probably kill each other. Not really. We could probably work together very well, but we would need a different type of people walking around these streets, not the ones that we have today. I don't see that as a possibility anytime soon. This has to be a generational conflict. Like, this is not going to be resolved this generation or the next one or even the next one. Like, the powers that are in place are heavily rooted in the entire structure of what you even want to call reality, right? The interesting thing going to Brothers Karamazov is like, when they were having an argument of like the ecclesiastical courts and the state has to come together because since they have divergent views, the only logical step is for the state to become into the church and for the church to achieve its ideal, which is the universal church, the one government, the one church, the one totalitarian state, right? Under God. That's gonna, like, what is a higher power than God? Like, what is gonna be the, like, how can you possibly object to that, right? It's the ultimate power move. It's the ultimate power play. Like, fucking Nietzsche talked about that. He's like, dude, that's just a fucking power play. Like, oh, I'm the and since I'm the priest, I'm his voice. So what I say is the voice of God. Therefore, I have the power. Therefore, I say what's going on. That's why you constantly saw kingdoms that were like when a king was excommunicated by the Pope, it was like a fucking huge political fucking upheaval, right? Like a Henry, I forgot, Henry V or I forgot which Henry. That he founded a whole different religion. He converted to Protestant, to become a Protestant just so he could divorce his wife. So he can have, like, he had multiple wives. But obviously the Pope didn't let him divorce from the wife he had, and that's why he switched, just for marriage. And he got excommunicated for it. And there was a lot of wars going on with the Catholics that were already and like were already in there. But I'm not gonna go into that because I'm honestly not I'm not very knowledgeable in English history. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. That's a hole in my intellectual capacity, or whatever, in my intellectual competence, I guess you could say. But yeah, sorry that I keep diverting. Pretty high. We go to Ivan. Ivan, makes the case of how the state needs to go to the church and the church to become the universal government. But then Musov, or Pt.2, fucking smirks and he's like, oh, do you know that this guy, when he was around with a bunch of girls, was saying that, like, oh, if there's no God, then there's no rules, then why? And then we would have to do the complete opposite. We have to be completely selfish. We would have to advocate selfishness to the point of evil doing. That even where cannibalism is allowed and cheered for, that's what we should do. It's just pretty fucking weird, right? Like, that's pretty extreme. That's pure, like, animalism. Like, we're going right back to the very beginning just because we don't have God. Like, we're just gonna start killing each other. I don't think that's how it works. Like, I feel like us animals are we as humans are biologically inclined to work together. I don't think we need a God for that, in my opinion. Do we need a more intellectual society? Absolutely. Not the dumbasses that are on TikTok all day. We can't pull that off with them. Russell Brand advocates for democracy and shit like that, but it's very spiritual as well, which I don't mind, but not Christianity. So that's just Dostoevsky's argument, and for now, Ivan talks about that. It becomes an uproar in the monastery. They just start arguing, Dmitri and Fyodor. Like, when Dmitri walks in, and when he hears that, he's like, if you don't believe in God, then you don't need the morals, because you can't have morals without the God. You can't have the rules without the ideal, like the thing that you are chasing, right? In a way, that's what you're chasing. You're chasing the ideal. That's why you're behaving in these specific ways under your whatever religion you're in or whatever. So if you don't believe in a God, then everything is permitted, right? Like what's the point? Like, why do you care? If you don't believe in God, then you're not gonna get punished. There's nothing to fear. And Demetrius goes up, he gets astonished. He's like, so what do you mean? Like, anything is allowed? And he's like, yeah. He's like, oh. And everyone just looks at him like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, you could tell there's gonna be murder. Like, the atmosphere going on. Dostoevsky is an absolutely amazing fucking writer, bro. Fucking astounding. The way he describes people, the way he describes the servant Gregory, for example, and his wife, and the relationship with them. He had a little flashback, I guess you could say, for when the wife was very young. She did a Russian dance from something she learned from another estate that she worked at, and this guy beat her ass. But that was the only time. But it was just giving like a random little flashback and stuff, like adding more depth to the story. He's really freaking good, bro. Really good. I'm not gonna keep talking about the story just yet. Not a whole lot has developed in a way. It becomes a disaster, like with Dmitri and Fyodor. They start fighting with one another because everyone finds out that there's a love triangle. That now the both of them are chasing the same fucking bitch, and everyone's like, "Bro, you fucking kidding me?" Like, everyone's just furious. And everyone just they just start fucking bad mouthing one another. Dimitri was like, oh yeah, she told me that you went up to her and that you were trying to get her and you were trying to bribe her to fuck me over, and she was laughing about you, and he gets mad about it. Fyodor, it's fucking crazy, man. It's crazy shit out here. I'll probably read it later after I sleep. I just got back. Oh, my apologies. I just got back from the gym. As you could tell, the slump is really starting to hit. So Thank y'all for watching. Love y'all. Go make some gains today. Sunday is not a rest day. But love y'all, man. Peace.